Grateful for life, mine and yours. Hi, I am ethereal, I am divine, I am the great Kadhiki Awagakuya, and this is Party and Thriving.
Welcome to our 8th episode of TNT.
Yes, I did say our because it's for you and I. Karibu. For those who are here for the first time, welcome. Thank you for coming here. Do enjoy the ride. And then, kwa nyinyi wengine who have been here since day 1 or day 2 or just from when you've been here, as long as it's not your first time, asante kwa kurudi and karibu sana once again. Sasa nimeamua kuwapigia story ingine ni zile tu zenye nilimention pale kwa ile ya kwanza. I mentioned a few things that happened to me when I was in primary school. So those are the things I have decided to just talk about ziishe so that we can move on to the next, because I know I will want to talk about them. So why not now?
8th,
food poisoning in school. This was in 2006 and I believe it was second term, the longest and coolest term. Na tulikuwa Nyeri, so yeah, the cold schools. We'd get meat every Saturday for supper. Supper was ugali with skuma mixed with beans and a lot of water and a piece of meat. So this particular Saturday, we are told there will be no meat. Tutapewa nyama yetu before the next Saturday. So the waiting games began. Sunday, nothing. Monday, nothing. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, tukienda lunch, tukapata food imepangwa different. Normally, we'd all sit at our assigned tables. Your time, nilikuwa table 17. But on this day, most tables did not have food on them. And the tables that did, the plates had been piled on top of each other. Like, si ati ndani ya chakula, but on top of each other. The plates were like bakulis. They were bakulis, not like they were metallic bakulis. Sasa zilikuwa zimepangwa on top of each other. Nakumbuka notice that those chunks of meat, they were a little too larger than what we were used to getting. I also remember that the matron, who we just called auntie, she didn't bother to control people the minute they got into the hall. Normally they'd stop us from picking food from the kids' table. Sasa meza za watoi, by watoi I mean class 4-5, because shule ilikuwa imeanza class 4. Class 4-5, meza zao food yao haikuwa imekuwa, like plates zao hazikuwa zimekuwa food mob. And people like me used to not want to pick food from our tables because tables zetu zilikuwa zinajazwa food sana, na mimi haikuwa inanimakia sense because your food mimi nitashindwa kumaliza, and you had to finish the food on your plate. Haungetoka nje na chakula, hakukuwa na beans za kumwaga chakula imebaki, nothing. They enjoyed stuffing us, so we had to pick food from our assigned tables ndio uchukue chakula yenye clearly hautaweza kumaliza. Remember that all this is happening within a split second in my mind. I see the large chunks. I notice the disorder in the hall because now people are fighting for the plates with the largest chunks, and something tells me not to pick food from just any table, but to go to my table 17 and pick the plates that had been placed specifically where I sat, like where I used to sit. It was a very weird instruction that I received from God knows where. Because I was like, pick food from your table. Na usichukue chakula yenye iko place yoyote. Unaona mali unakaanga when you sit, because we used to sit in specific places. Mali unakaanga when you sit, pick the plate that is right there. And that is exactly what I did. The meat was super tiny, but I didn't care, and for some reason we were eating from outside on this day. Everything that was happening was just fishy your day. Nikaenda nje, I ate my food including the meat, which I noticed was a lot more tender than usual. And as I was about to finish my food, someone came up to the person mwenye tulikuwa tumesimama na yeye and offered her piece of meat. I don't remember whether or not she took it. All I remember was thinking to myself, this is someone that normally wouldn't help you in any way. even if you were dying. And now she's giving her meat to someone else. Wallahi, there's something going on. Anyway, I've noticed I say anyway a lot. Anyway, I went to class and the day went on as usual till ikafika time ya kwenda bed and we slept. In the middle of the night, I am woken up by a lot of noise and I immediately noticed that I need to poop. Now, I'm not one to poop in the middle of the night. My poop is very mindful. Doesn't bother me in my sleep. And when I went to the loo, it seemed like everyone was there. I wait in line, not necessarily talking to anyone. I get in, do my thing, and go back to bed. The people whose beds were close to mine were also awake. One of them asked me about my poop. And I was like, damn girl, if you must know, it was normal. Then she proceeded to tell me that I must be lucky because people were having explosive diarrhea. Of course, there was only one thing that could have caused that. The freaking meat. Night goes on. I tried to go back to sleep, which wasn't easy because of the noise. And then after a while, the explosive diarrhea decided to pay me a visit. It was a long night, but I was fine by morning. This, however, wasn't the case for everyone. People were sick. Classes had to be cancelled for a whole week. And the best part, not a single parent was informed. Yeah, not a single parent was informed. So the one of food poisoning, of course, people can't go to class because their tummy is hurt and others are practically living in the loo. Some have already been rushed to hospital because their conditions are not good at all. But I needed to guess where the rest were. Those that weren't in the toilet or in class. Yep, you guessed it. Those with severe tummy aches were all told to go to the hall. The hall was filled with kids aged between 9 and 15. Most of them in such unbearable pain they couldn't sit or stand, so they were all on the floor. Okay, not all like all the kids, but those who couldn't sit or stand. And still, not a single parent was informed. The weird thing is, those in class were not exactly safe. Randomly, in the middle of the day, someone's tongue would just start hurting, and 10 seconds later, they'd be on the floor, wailing because of the pain. Then, of course, you know where we had to take them. Yeah, you guessed it. To the hall. Let me mention that right opposite our school was Mary Immaculate Hospital, and that is where all those in critical condition were rushed. And we were getting news from those that managed to feel better and return to school that some people had to be rushed to a hospital in Nyeri for treatment, and still not a single parent was informed. And this is exactly how our week went. Some people in hospital getting worse and being transferred to another hospital. Some in the hall getting worse and being transferred to hospital. And some that were well suddenly getting so sick, something I think of a lot to this day, and being rushed to the hall, as you probably already guessed. And still, not a single parent was informed. Luckily, by the end of the week, most people were well, and life was starting to get back to normal, at least physically. But the trauma lives on. I can't even start to imagine what it did to those that had to be taken to hospital. All that pain and being so scared. And to think that not a single teacher, cook, worker or nun fell sick makes me know for sure that they knew very well that that meat was not fit for consumption. That and the fact that not a single parent was informed. Nobody cared about us in that school. When I tell you people were sick, sidhani mnaweza elewa hadi mjione. Ushaiona mtu wako na food poisoning? Ama ushaikuwa na food poisoning? People were sick. So that is how the week was. Hata hakuna mtu ati alikuwa anakuja, you see that hall that I have mentioned, hakuna mtu alikuwa anakuja kuangalia watu vile wako. Ni nyinyi wagonjwa mkonsole wagonjwa wenzenu. Because sisi wenye tunafaa kukua class, we were not allowed to spend too much time there in the hall. Wewe si mgonjwa, rudi class. Like hatuko tunasoma, yes, we were just minding our business, but you are not allowed to chill there, ati sasa utoke class umeenda kuchill nao wasi wagonjwa. But I remember at some point I did that. I remember thinking to myself, this is not right. My classmates are literally there in pain, let me go see them. So vile nilienda, one of my classmates had just started having those weird tummy aches, na we rushed her to the hall. And then after going back to class was when I was like, hey, I need to go chill with those people. And I remember her getting worse. Tukiwa kwa hall, it was literally like 15 minutes later. It was like 15 minutes later, haezi stand your pain anymore. She's on the floor, she cannot. Yani she was crying and I was like, this pain just started 15 minutes ago. For it to be this bad right now. And then hakuna mtu anajali. Everything else is going on as usual. The nuns are in the convent, the cooks are in the kitchen, wenye wako hosi, walimu wako staff room mama nyumbani, doing rounds once in a while to make sure that if you are not sick you are in class, and if you are sick you have been rushed to the hall. Anyway, we survived. And when I told my mother about it, guess what she asked? Did you get sick? I said no. And that was the end of that conversation. I didn't, the reason I said no wasn't because I didn't have explosive diarrhea on day one. It was because I could not compare it to the rest. Because there were people who stayed in hospital for about 2 weeks. And in my mind, I was thinking about those ones when I was asked that question. I could not say I was sick na kuna mtu alilala hosi wiki mbili. How even? So I said no, and my mom was like, nothing. She said nothing. And life went on, and I found myself in that same school the next term. Yeah, when I say even the parents didn't care, that's exactly what I mean. Because if a school can food poison you, na mzazi asijali simply because you didn't get sick. Wow. Anyway, let us carry on with life. KPLC, you need to do better, by the way. Nisi get shida nini gani. You need to do better. Now I can't edit because my phone is almost dying, and it's the reason I did not post on time yesterday, because my phone was dead. Do have a blessed day. Ni mimi wako the great Gathiga waga kuya, najua umefurahia kuwa nami, natumai utaendelea kuwa nami. Tupatane papa hapa siku nyingine, inshallah.